Hello and welcome to the Federal. Today at our studios we have with us Colonel Shankar Vembu, retired. Today on the day of Vijay Divas, or the day when we celebrate India's victory at the Kargil war, really glad to have with us Colonel Shankar here at our studios. Thank you very much, and we'd be very much interested in knowing more about what happened. I'm sure you were there at that point of time. Of course, we'll not get into details, but could you just in general tell about the Kargil war and specifically about high altitude warfare?
All right. Good morning, viewers. Jai Hind to everyone. It's indeed a great pleasure for me to be here at this Federal Studios on this very special occasion on Kargil Divas Day. Thank you very much, first of all, for this opportunity. Yes, it was a very interesting and a life-changing experience for me to be participating in Operation Vijay. I was a young officer with just about 2 years of service when we were inducted as part of my unit to participate in this operation. It was indeed a challenging operation because of the heights involved, because of the lack of information about exactly where the enemy was. In fact, we didn't know who the enemy was initially. So the war was a life-changing experience, but the positive side of the whole operation that we took part as a unit was we didn't have any casualties from our unit. But of course, as you would know, Indian Army lost a lot of men and officers in this operation. In fact, more than 500 plus men and officers we lost during Operation Vijay. But yes, like you mentioned, high altitude warfare is indeed a challenging warfare, and it's very different from what we do in the plains and in deserts and other places.
I mean, specifically, do you remember challenges in terms of, is it logistical issues or, I know you can't go too much into details, but briefly if you could just...
Yes, logistics is an important thing, but more than anything else, you're fighting two enemies. The first enemy is, of course, the Pakistanis, who were under the garb of civilians. They were not wearing uniform. And secondly, the more important enemy was the weather itself. The weather and terrain posed a great challenge for us, and which hampered our operations initially. But like they say in the army, the more we sweat in peace, the less we bleed in war. So our training, because of high altitude warfare, the unit that I specifically was only training in high altitude warfare for more than 25 years, and because of which we could come out successfully from the operation. So that was the main challenge, apart from the enemy who were under the garb of militants. More than that, the terrain and the weather.
Yes, now you have retired, you've had an early retirement from the army, and you've gone on to do something very interesting. Could you tell our viewers more about what you're doing now and why you did choose to, you were a decorated officer, you were the Shaurya Chakra awardee. So what made you choose to come out from your love, the army, if I could say that, and to do what you're doing right now?
Well, everybody goes through certain callings in their lives, and from my childhood, I wanted to join the Indian Armed Forces, and specifically the Indian Army. I served the army after getting commissioned from National Defense Academy and Indian Military Academy, and served for about 20 years. And while I was commanding a field unit in the eastern sector, I realized that the Indian Army is losing a lot of their men and officers due to non-operational circumstances. And we call these people as physical casualties. That is Indian Army personnel who die while in service because of non-operational circumstances. And when I started doing a little bit of research on what causes these accidents or medical conditions or suicides or fratricides, I was more than surprised to know that nearly about 1,500 to 2,000 personnel die every year.
These are people under non-operational condition, meaning they're not fighting.
Absolutely. These are called physical casualties. That is Indian Army personnel who die while in service because of non-operational circumstances, and that could be for reasons. One is medical conditions. One, it could be any accidents. It could be road accidents, falling into a van, struck by a lightning, falling down from a train, suicides, and fratricides. These are the four major reasons why people have physical casualties. So when I started doing the research and wanted to find out how many such people are there, what happens to their families, I found there was a gap in terms of the welfare delivery, in terms of identifying who these next of kin was. So I said the best way to serve them would be to take premature retirement and serve these next of kin, the widows, the parents, and the children of these physical casualties. And that's the reason why I took premature retirement from the Indian Army, and I committed to myself to a initiative which I titled this as Project Sambandh, and I considered doing this for 1,000 days to connect to the next of kin of the physical casualties of the Indian Army.
That's fantastic. And how many days have you spent in Project Sambandh, and what have you achieved or intend to achieve?
All right, it's an ongoing process. So I started this project while I was in service. This was on 15th August 2017. I thought it was a very auspicious day to start the project. And it's been nearly about 2 years plus. And my project finishes on 11th of May 2020, where the 1,000 days finishes. And so the initial challenge was, of course, it consists of identifying these next of kin, and then to verify them and to make sure that the benefits reach them, what they're entitled. So the last about a year and a half has been spent only on collection of data, analyzing the data, cleaning up the data. So that has been my challenge, and now the process of actually connecting with them has started, and each connect throws up a story, and that's the reason why I've titled this project as Project Sambandh, which in Hindi means to connect.
We're very interested to know more about these stories from Project Sambandh. Can you share, one or two examples of your journey or events in this journey of yours so far?
Absolutely. Like I told you, data was very important, and analyzing the data. So in one of the trips to my hometown, which is in Tanjavur district, I accessed my database to find out whether is there any next of kin in this area. And I found that there was this lady who belonged close to my village. When I went to their house, I found that the lady is no longer staying in the house. This was the in-laws' place. And then I tracked down the lady later through my other networks. I used a lot of social engineering to find out the actual position of where the next of kin is. And I found out that the lady is living in a very small rented apartment in Chennai. And when I went to their house, I found the one-room tenement full of certificates. And when I inquired, I found out the child was a very talented child. That's the child of the Indian Army person who's died in non-operational circumstances. And this lady, in spite of a meager pension, has been supporting this child who's good in music, who's good in shooting, who's also aspiring to be a medical student and to be a doctor, so that he could save more lives because his father died in a medical condition. And once I went there and I tried to make sure that the benefits which are due to them is delivered, I also realized that there was this backstory to it. And when I put up this story through my networks using social media and my social networks, I found that the support from the public of India as well as my friends and families was immense. And now the child is his medical education is getting sponsored. Somebody's trying to sponsor his shooting coaching, and I'm sure he will do well in academics too. So this is one of the stories, but every connect has got a lot of stories.
Yeah. So Colonel Shankar, could you give us more, probably one more story about your interaction during this process of data collection? I presume that would have been the toughest part. And
Absolutely. This Project Sambandh takes me all across India. So in one of the travels that I traveled to Jammu and Kashmir, to a place called Sundarbani, and where I met this widow who had lost her husband just 2 years into marriage and already had a kid, a girl child, 1 year old. And when I met this, the widow who was hardly in her early 30s, and the kid, they were so confident. The kid was so confident. When I spoke to the girl, she said, when I asked her what are her plans, she said, I want to be a cardiologist. Imagine in a place in Sundarbani, a small village, and having aspirations to be a cardiologist. And to be honest, she was in 9th grade, and maybe even 9th grade, I wouldn't have known even what a cardiologist does. And here was this girl who didn't have a father, and the mother, as a single mother, has brought up this kid. And unfortunately, they did not claim the scholarship, which is hardly about 14,000 rupees. But it's a significant amount, because more than the amount is the connect which was established. And because of this interaction of mine, the unit got in touch with me. A lot of well-wishers got in touch with me. And I'm proud to say today that the kid is just finished her 10th standard. And you would be surprised, she scored 484 out of 500 in the board exams. and she's now trying to move from Sundarbani to Jammu to pursue her, education so that she can get into a medical school. And this requires coaching, and there is some good well-wisher who's trying to sponsor the coaching. So all comes from the connect. The connect is important. The moment you connect with the next of kin, it's not always monetary. Most of these widows and next of kin actually are not looking for the money, but are actually more happy to associate themselves with the family that was. Yeah. And Indian Army is a family, and we look at the next of kin. Incidentally, this is the year of the next of kin. The Indian Army has declared this is the year of the next of kin too.
Yeah, so if you could, so basically you're saying that even though there are people, physical casualties as you call it, the army does provide certain benefits, but somehow, the people who are supposed to get these benefits don't know about it, or the army is not able to reach out to them. I don't know, is it change of address or whatever the reason might be? Is that
absolutely, what? Absolutely. What you hit the nail on the head. Unfortunately, what happens is after the death of the soldier, after a couple of years, the widow and the next of kin move out from that location that the man died, which generally is the in-laws' place. They move out because of educational reasons, because of vocational reasons, or sometimes due to social reasons also. And because of which the connect of the army and the next of kin is lost, because there is nothing much that they think that they can gain from the army, and also because the numbers are high, it's difficult for the army also to reach out. But in today's world of technology, I think this is not an excuse that can be taken, and we can solve the problem, and that's what I'm trying to solve. So what happens is once you reach out, then there are a lot of benefit schemes which the Indian Army is providing through their own funds.
Could you, for example, give?
So most of these schemes, welfare schemes, are educational. Okay. Sometimes they are vocational. Sometimes they are social also. For education specifically, children of the physical casualties who are going to school or college are entitled to monetary benefits, monetary scholarship. Like for first standard to 8th standard, they get 10,000 per annum. From 9th standard to 12th standard, they get 14,000 per annum. Somebody's doing graduation, they get 20,000 rupees per annum. Somebody's doing post-graduation, they get 25,000 rupees. If they're doing a professional course, they get 50,000 rupees. These are the educational schemes. And then you have the social schemes where the widow remarries, they get 1 lakh of rupees. And all this is a very simple process. It's a one-page form which can be, downloaded from a Indian Army website called the indianarmyveterans.gov.in, where these scholarships are delivered by the Directorate of Indian Army Veterans, which is under the Adjutant General's branch, which is funds of the Indian Army itself.
Well, that's fantastic, and really, it's great stuff that you're working on. Wish you all the best, and we're so happy that you're here at our studios. Thank you so much. It's indeed an honor, and thank you once again for this opportunity. And please do check out Colonel Shankar's website. Thank you once again. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, thank you very much for this opportunity. And I'll also like to take this opportunity for the viewers to reach out to these next of kin of physical casualty. They might be in your village, they might be in your community, there would be some relatives. And since you are watching this channel and this video, you would be able to explain to them much better. It's been a great opportunity for me on this wonderful auspicious day of Kargil Vijay Divas. Jai Hind.